Ms. Rifi, who stands elected from the Jalukbari constituency of Assam, will now take the oath or affirmation. Ms. Rifi. Madam, do you want to take oath or affirmation?
Oath, please.
In which language would you like to take the oath?
In English, please. I, Rifi, having been elected a member of lower house of the youth parliament, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as by law established, that I will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of India, and that I will faithfully discharge the duty upon which I am about to enter.
Obituary reference.
Honorable members, as we meet today, it is my sad duty to inform the House of our former colleague, Sri Suresh Chandra. Sri Suresh Chandra was an agriculturist by profession and active social worker. He worked in the rural areas, devoting his time and energy to the welfare of agricultural laborers and the uplife of backward classes and the downtrodden. He was president of Mazdoor Sabha, Mirzapur, an able parliamentarian and an effective orator. He took keen interest in the proceedings of the House. He passed away at New Delhi on 30 June 1988 at the age of 35. Prime Minister, please.
Ma'am, I rise to pay my tributes to Sri Suresh Chandra, whose death has been deeply mourned by all. He was a young man who came from a family of freedom fighters and whose father had made a name for himself, and this tradition was carried by the family. He was with us to the very last moment. He seemed to be well and happy, therefore the shock of his passing was all the greater. He had a bright future before him. I should like to extend my deep condolences to his family.
Ma'am, I would like to associate with the tribute paid by you and the leader of the house. I had the privilege to work with Suresh Chandra as he was one of my colleagues. He has a person which is very lovable in nature and had never annoyed anyone. He always has a smiling face and was a very kind-hearted person. Today, we lost such a good social worker and political worker and a good human like him. I would like to associate myself and my party sending condolences to the bereaved family.
Introduction of new ministers.
Prime Minister to introduce new ministers.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, I have pleasure in introducing to you, through you, to the House, my colleagues, the new ministers. Srimati Ankita De, Minister of Irrigation, Srimati Swastika Majumdar, Minister of Civil Supplies.
Question hour.
Now the question hour starts. Question number 101, Sri Ananya.
Madam Speaker, question number 101, will the Minister of Communication be pleased to state whether a large number of complaints have been received by PNT department from telephone subscribers regarding misuse of STD facility by unsurplus facility person? And if so, what steps government propose to take in this regard?
Honorable Minister for Communication.
Yes, sir. Complaints in this nature have been received in many cases. Investigation showed that there was no spot in meter reading and no unauthorized connection were detected. If a few cases unauthorized connection were detected and action initiated against a person found involved in a malpractice, the government proposes to take the following steps in this regard. Amendment of Indian Telegraph Act to make unauthorized diversion of a line major offence. Setting of vigilance squad to make surprise check for detecting any misuse. To import charge analyzers to detect such cases easily.
Srimati Ananya.
Madam, some unauthorized connection were detected. I want to know what specific steps have been taken by the government. The specific steps have been broadly stated. We got a vigilance squad which immediately goes in. I cannot give the exact number of complaints that we have been registered. The information is being gathered. For example, I could say Delhi in the last year.
Another ma'am.
was not enough to collect the information. Is the House to create it so? I have not been asked to collect the information. I am just incidentally stating that in Delhi during the last year, there were 50 such complaints. All these complaints were investigated and it was detected that in 3 companies there were misconnection. In all these cases, the employees were identified and were suitably proceeded against.
Srimati Tanya.
Madam Speaker, it has been stated the charge analyzer are imported have to be gone through. We have to come to the final stage. I cannot say exactly by what time, but we are in the final stage.
Next question. Question number 102. Srimati Priyani.
Madam Speaker, question number 102. Will the Minister of Energy be pleased to state whether the government have assessed the potential of power generation from tidal waves? If so, the outcome of such assessment, the estimate cost of power generation from tidal waves, the conventional method of thermal and hydroelectric power generation, whether the government have formulated any plan to set up tidal power station in the Gulf of Kutch. If so, whether such plants are to be set up in other places like Bay of Bengal, etc. And if so, the details therefore.
Honorable Minister of Energy.
Sir, EQF, the Central Electricity Authority, has undertaken studies and investigations to assess the techno-economic feasibility of a tidal power projected in the Gulf of Kutch region, which envisages an installed capacity of about 900 megawatts. There is no proposal at present to set up a tidal power project at any other location. It is estimated that the cost of tidal power generation at the proposed project in the Gulf of Kutch will be about 85 paisa per year. The average cost of generation from conventional hydro and thermal projects recently cleared out by the CEA for hydro, it is 35 to 60 paisa per unit, and the 50 and for thermal it is 50 to 85 paisa per unit.
Srimati Priyani.
Madam, the Honourable Minister has given the reply that the estimated cost of tidal power generation at the proposed project in the Gulf of Kutch will be about 85 paisa per unit, and that from hydro the cost will be about 35 to 60 paisa per unit, and from thermal at 50 to 85 paisa per unit. I was to know from the ministers what is the estimated cost of power generation from the wind and solar power, and if the cost of power generation from the wind and solar system is low in comparison to hydro and thermal system, etc., whether the piece of program of power generation from these systems of wind and solar is being increased in the country.
Minister of Energy.
So, as far as the wind is concerned, the cost estimated is around 80 to 90 paisa, and solar at present, if we take it in absolute terms, it is much costlier because we have yet not been able to tap it on a commercial basis. But don't worry, experiments are being tried. If you take the cost at the production level, then the solar cost is nearly rupees 2 more than the thermal cost. We have to consider the cost alone, i.e. the cost to the consumer. If that is considered, then we find solar energy can become competitive and competitive. And we are trying to establish now a 30 megawatt electricity solar plant in Rajasthan. The scheme is being developed.
Srimati Parinita.
Madam Speaker, may I know from the Honorable Minister whether power production can be increased by 512 volt 30 million tons can be saved through full exploitation of new industrial developed technology.
Minister of Energy.
So, I agree that using tidal energy, we will be able to save coal. Because at the coastal side particularly, it is very difficult to transport coal and away from the place where coal is available. That is why, if we use tidal energy, we have a project which will give about 900 megawatts worth power in the Kutch region by tidal waves. When that fructifies, the cost will be more or less the same 80 paisa on transport of coal. Use of coal will be safe. I agree with the Honourable Member on this.
Srimati Rushi.
Madam, production of energy is an important aspect and must thank the Minister and the Ministry for a coordinated and overall development of energy system. That is, transmission is a very important factor since the loss involved 30
person at the other end. So what are the special measures and research that you are undertaking, more particularly in super connectivity, so that transmission cost is saved at least? So what is your program technological and technical advancement program for transmission of electricity, particularly through the system like super conductivity, etc.?
Minister of Energy.
As far as transmission losses are concerned today, the average transmission loss is about 21 to 23% and 50% of it is theft. We have made central laws, states have also made laws to save it, and this theft is only possible when there is collusion. We want to take firm action. State electricity boards must take firm action about this matter. As far as the technical losses are concerned, I agree with the Honorable Member that with new technological advances like superconductivity, the technical losses will come down very sharply, and our nation is in fact one of the advanced countries in the world. And in this field of research in superconductivity, I am sure it will be a great boon to this field of transmission of power.
Next question. Question number 103, Shri Karan. Honorable Minister is absent. Next question. Question number 104, Shri Prateek.
Will the Minister of Food and Civil Supplies be pleased to state the latest position of food grain reserve in the country? Whether keeping in view the present drought situation, government have adequate stock of food grains to meet the requirements of the country, and if no, the measures proposed to be taken by government to deal with the situation.
Honorable Minister of Food and Civil Supplies.
Sir, the total stock of food grains with the public agencies as on 1st January 1988 was estimated at 14.14 million tons. Regarding question numbers B and C, the stocks available are adequate to meet the present requirement of the public distribution system. There is also regular replenishment of stocks through procurement operations. Further, the government is also keeping open the option to import food grains as and when considered necessary.
Shri Prateek.
Ma'am, is it a fact that the reserve of food grain have declined from 23 million tons to 15 million tons during the month July 1987? If so, what are the stocks to fulfill the deficit of food grains? Is there any target fixed for rice and wheat during the Rabi season?
Minister of Food and Civil Supplies.
Sir, as far as the availability of the food grain is concerned, the requirement of the buffer stock policy is 21.1 million tons. Against that, 14.44 million tons of food is available in our buffer stock, and the shortfall is only 6 million tons. I hope this will offset in the next Rabi season and ongoing Kharif season. As far as the storage capacity is concerned, 3 is a policy that we are constructing additional storage capacity also, so that whatever is the requirement of the buffer stock, it is stored at different places. If you want to know about the presented storage capacity, I can supply to the Honorable Member. There is a long list situated at different states.
Srimati Srishti.
Madam, I want to know whether because of the short age of stock in food grains, has the government supplied rice in wheat, which is not for human consumption. Such stores have been received from certain states and complaints were met to the government. Has it been noticed by the government that such an instance has taken place, and what steps have been taken in this matter?
Minister of Food and Civil Supplies.
The Honorable Member has supplied information. I will look into it.
Srimati Srishti.
Madam, she may be having this information with her because this is connected with shortage of food.
Minister of Food and Civil Supplies.
The Honorable Member has supplied this information. I am not aware about his complaint. You have supplied this information. I will definitely look into it.
Srimati Srishti.
Madam, this is a very serious matter. Supply of rotten food grains will damage the health of people. You must direct the government to ensure that it is not.
Yes. Would the Honorable Minister like to say anything on this?
Sir, there is no true opinion on this. That is very serious matter. The government is fully committed to safeguarding the health of the people of the nation. I assure you that all steps are being taken to ensure that good quality of food grains are supplied to the distribution system. Special calls have also been set up to monitor the quality of food grains, both in the godowns and at the retail level. If the Honorable Members has any specific details, I will have it thoroughly examined, and anyone found guilty will be severely dealt with.
Next question. Question number 105, Srimati Akansha.
Madam Speaker, question number 105, will the Minister of Tourism be pleased to state? The foreign exchange earning from tourists during the last 3 years, year-wise, and the name of the 5 countries on the top from the point of view of tourist arrivals in India.
Honorable Minister of Tourism.
Sir, the estimated foreign exchange earnings from tourism during the last 2 years were as follows. In 1984 to 85 rupees 1300 crores, in 1985 to 86 rupees 1460 crores, in 1986 to 87 rupees 1780 crores. And the 5 countries on the top in terms of tourist arrivals in India during 1987 were Bangladesh, United Kingdom, Pakistan, United States of America and Sri Lanka in that order.
Srimati Akanksha.
What is the number of tourist arrivals from different countries with foreign exchange earned, and which is the country from where we earn the highest foreign exchange in the matter of tourist arrivals?
Honorable Minister.
Sir, in the statement I have given the name of 5 countries. Foreign exchange earned in 1986 to 1987 from different countries is like this: UK 14%, USA 11%. Tourist travel has increased accordingly.
What is the number of tourists from USSR with foreign exchange earned? What are the special steps taken by the government to attract the tourists?
Minister of Tourism.
Recently, USSR steps have been taken at different levels for tourist exchange promotion. I do not have the exact figures, but last year we started an exchange program with USSR and other places. We are trying to attract more number of tourists from USSR. Country-wise estimate of exchange promotion programs is not available.
Srimati Akanksha.
Foreign exchange earning from tourists during the last 3 year-wise, and the name of the 5 countries on the top from the point of view of tourist arrivals in India.
Minister of Tourism.
India has the greatest tourist potential in the world because we have got a number of archaeological monuments. We have got tourist facilities which have been created after the creation of this ministry in 1985. We have got 18 overseas offices which provide facilities for tourists to come to India. We can compare the foreign exchange earning from tourism with that of handicraft, where we are spending rupees 75 for earning rupees 100 from handicraft. We are spending only rupees 7 for earning rupees 100 from tourism. That shows that tourism earns a lot for our country. The tourist infrastructure which has built up in our country over the years will attract a lot of tourists. We have conducted survey and studies to see that tourists come to India in large number. In 1986 we have crossed 1 million figure of tourist arrival in the country. It shows that the government has taken adequate steps to see that the India gets more foreign tourists.
Now question hour is over.
Breach of privilege.
Shri Aditya.
Ma'am, a serious breach of privilege has been committed by the leading newspaper of Delhi. While commenting on the recommendation of the Public Accounts Committee, the paper has attributed dishonest motives, and I have requested you to allow me to raise a question on that matter now.
Shri Aditya, have you given notice of it earlier? You may give due notice along with a new copy of newspaper cutting, and I shall consider it. You cannot bring a surprise on me like this.
Ma'am, I have already given the notice of it at 10 a.m. today.
It will be examined when it comes to me. I shall consider it and let you know my decision. Now papers to be laid.
Papers to be laid.
Honorable Minister of Steel and Mines.
Sir, I beg to lay on the table a copy of each of the following notifications, Indian English version, under subsection 1 of section 28 of the Mines and Minerals Regulation and Development Act 1957. The Mineral Commission Third Amendment Rules 1987, published in notification number GSR 1002B in the Gazette of India, dated 21st December 1987. SO 145E, published in the Gazette of India, dated the 4th February 1988, authorizing the Geological Survey of India to carry out such detailed investigations for the purpose of obtaining such information as may be necessary in the area specified in the table annexed to the notification.
Honorable Minister for Agriculture.
Sir, I beg to lay on the table a copy each of the following papers, Indian English version, in the subsection 1, 619A of the Companies Act 1956. Review by the government on the working of the State Farm Corporation Limited of India, New Delhi for the year 1956-87. Annual report for the State Farm Corporation of India Limited, New Delhi for the year 1986-87 along with audited accounts and the Comptroller and Auditor General on them.
Honorable Minister for Urban Development.
Madam, I will lay on the table a copy of each of the following paper under subsection 1619A of the Companies Act 1956. Reviewed by the government on the working of National Mineral Development Corporation Limited, Hyderabad for the year 1986-87. Annual report of the National Mineral Development Corporation Limited, Hyderabad for the year 1986-87 along with audited accounts and the comments of Controller and Auditor General thereon.
Message from Upper Chamber.
Secretary to report message from Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament. Ma'am, I have to report the following message received from the Secretary of the Upper Chamber of Youth Parliament. In accordance with the provisions of the Rules of Procedure and Conduct of Business in the Upper House of Youth Parliament, I am directed to enclose a copy of the Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunals Bill 1988, which has been passed by the Upper Chamber at its sitting held on 3rd July 1988. Secretary to lay on the table a copy of the bill as passed by the Upper Chamber.
Madam, I lay on the table of the House the Illegal Migrants Determination by the Tribunals Bill 1988 as passed by the Upper Chamber.
Welcome to the Danish Parliament Declaration.
Honorable Member, I have to make an announcement. On my own behalf of the honorable members of the House, I have a great pleasure in extending our warm welcome to His Excellency Mr. Sven Jacobsen, Speaker of the Danish Parliament, and the honorable members of the Danish Parliamentary delegation who are on a visit to India as our honored guests. The other honorable members of the delegation are Mr. Noor Ostergaard, Deputy Speaker, Mrs. Lily Gilden, also Deputy Speaker, Mr. Koval Bonstein, also Deputy Speaker. It is very high-powered delegation. The delegation arrived on Sunday 26, 1988. They are now seated in the special box. We wish them a happy and fruitful stay in our country. We also convey our warm greetings and very best wishes through them to Her Majesty the Queen of Denmark, the Prime Minister, the Danish Parliament, the government, and the friendly people of Denmark.
Calling attention motion.
Now let us take up the calling attention motion. Srimati Sweta.
Please call the attention of the Minister. Madam, I beg to call the attention of the Minister of Food and Civil Supplies to the situation arising out of the reported inadequate supply of food grain to the state by the centre and the action taken by the government in this regard.
Yes, Mr. Minister, please.
So, the state government union territories intimate the central government every month of the requirement of food grains from the central pool for issue through the public distribution system. The allotment of food grains to the various state union territories is made on a month-to-month basis, taking into account the availability or stocks in the central pool, the relative needs of the various states, the market availability and other related factors. These are being reviewed every month and allocations are made accordingly. During the year 1987-88, total quantity of 153.61 lakh tons of food grains were distributed throughout the country. This is a sizable increase over the quantity distributed in 1987, which was 140.26 lakh tons. The offtake of food grains from central and state stocks has increased due to the failure of monsoon in many parts of the country and consequent drought conditions. Government have been able to meet the increased requirements of public distribution system out of the stocks that have been built up by the government in accordance with the policy followed by the government in the past several years. Apart from normal allocations, special allocations have been made by the central government to the state to meet emergency situations like flood, drought and other natural calamities. Allocations have also been made for the National Rural Employment Program and the Employment Generation Scheme, which primarily help the poor people in the rural areas by providing them with works as well as food. The quantities allotted so far under these two schemes during the year 1988 to 89 have been about 5.71 lakh tons. I would like to mention in this connection that the management of food economy
has to be a joint effort of the center and the states. The availability of the stock in the central pool which comes for help for release for public distribution system can be sustained and improved only with the willing procurement effort on the part of the states, and also prudent and judicious release in consonance with the policy of the central government in the interest of the country as a whole. It is therefore not merely a question of demand by the state governments and supply by the center, but a matter of mutual maximization of effort regarding food management and judicious public distribution in the context of the overall food situation in the country. I may further add that the public distribution system can cater to only a part of the requirements of the people, particularly the vulnerable section of society, and cannot meet the needs of the entire population.
Srimati Sweta.
Madam, really I have to thank the chair for giving me an opportunity to call the attention of the Agriculture Minister for taking up the discussion with regard to the situation arising out of the inadequate supply of food grains to the state by the center, to that at a time when my own state is not in position to feed the people of Tamil Nadu even for 3 or 4 weeks.
There is no water also.
Srimati Sweta.
Here we are discussing only about food grains. Madam, I know fully well that in our country consisting of so many states, it is bounden duty of every state which is surplus state to give to the center pool after preparing rice or wheat as the case may be, and also feel that it is the bounden duty of the center to send rice to the state concerned at time when they are actually in need of it. There should be some mutual understanding, not only political but economically also. Then only can we create a very peaceful atmosphere, rather a pleasant atmosphere between the state of the center. Madam, as far as my state is concerned, we do not have natural resources as many states in this country have. We do not have Godavari or Krishna, as he mentioned here. We do not have sufficient water to cultivate and outfields. But, madam, we have had rice and surplus when the rice in evidence we use it to send it throughout the history of Tamil Nadu. As far as I know, I have never seen or faced such a trouble or suffering. I have never seen such crises faced by our people as we have faced, especially during the year 1987. Madam, the Minister just now stated that every month they are supplying rice or wheat to all states. Madam, from June 1987, not even a single grain has been sent from the central pool of Tamil Nadu. Many times I have myself, Chief Minister and our concerned minister, made the officials here. They did not even care to give a proper reply to our Chief Minister or the concerned minister of our state. They think that Tamil Nadu people will go on without taking any food grains continually for a year together. So that is the state of affairs. I want to know especially that minister concerned that step they have taken so far when I have repeatedly asked that 85,000 tons of rice should be sent to Tamil Nadu immediately to feed people there. Even 25 days have passed, but not a single grain has been received by us. It is just like telling after the child is dead. Let us not be well over the death of Tamil Nadu, but please give us relief as early as possible.
The first point that I want to make is that complaints are coming in larger and larger number from states as well as from the consumer that the food from the FCI is rotten, unfit for human consumption. There is something rotten with the FCI itself. I would like the food minister to look into the matter seriously and rectify the matters lest they should get completely out of control. This is the first which I want to make. The second point is that on 1987, I have got the figures here. The then food minister placed on the table of the house in reply to an unstated question, laying a statement showing the allocation and supply from the central pool. If you go into the figures, every state has got less food than the actual allotment. This has been
year continuously for 3 years. These are the figures which I find from your statement. Therefore, the allotment of food grains by the central government has no meaning whatsoever. Now, I would like to make the third point. I have verified the facts from him and he said that they are true. I did not want to be contradicted. Now, the fact is accordingly to the statement in Tamil Nadu. After 1954-55, there has been not procurement worth the needs, that is procurement that has been about 5 lakh odd tons in the last year only, and before that the procurement had been just about 30,000 tons maximum. Maybe it was in lakh tons in one particular year, but still it has started in that public distribution system in Tamil Nadu is one of the best. This is what is stated, and he has also stated that in all these years to the public distribution system, on an average 30,000 tons of rice have been supplied. I do not understand the validity of these figures. If 30,000 tons of rice per month has been supplied on an average, it comes to be about 3,60,000 tons. How when procuring 20,000, 40,000 and 50,000 tons, they would be able to supply 30,000 tons per month unless the Tamil Nadu government has got that mythical Akshay Para of Draupadi. I do not understand this. Therefore, if these figures are just flung above before the people of Tamil Nadu or the people of India, they will have absolutely no credibility whatsoever with the statements made by the government of India. Therefore, in their own interest, let them do the things properly. That is all I would like to say with regard to that.
Honorable Minister of Indian Civil Supplies.
Ma'am, I have listened carefully to the point raised by honorable member of this house on the subject of distribution of food grains, which states by the Center for the Public Distribution System. I have due concern for the hardship been faced by some of the states due to drought and failure of monsoon in some parts of the country. It has always been the endeavor of this government to help the states or units in mitigating their suffering. But in spite of our clear intentions, we are sometimes helpless because of certain limitations. Therefore, in view of this, I would request the affected states to kindly bear with us in the moment of crisis. Have faith in us, and we on our part will do our best to help them to extent possible to meet requirements of their people. My friends from Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Kerala and other several states have been made points of increasing the allotment of various commodities out of central pool to the states. As regards the position with regard to Tamil Nadu, I may submit that I have already explained the position of supply rice to that state in this house earlier in reply to questions and through statements made by me on the subject in the house. But in despite of all our assurances, the leaders from the state choose to enter into controversy with the centre and went on to sit on fast to press the centre in the matter. When the Chief Minister started his fast, I immediately contacted him and requested him that this can be amicably settled. Ma'am, with regard to the point raised in respect of Maharashtra by my friend, I may like to submit that this is only in statutory ration areas. The allocation on ration is fixed. We are not covering the entire population. It depends upon the state governments to issue wherever they like and wherever they find there is need. And the entire countryside is not covered by rationing for food grains. Therefore, the information sought by him with regard to ration given per adult in various states is irrelevant. So as far the problem of Maharashtra is arising out of drought in some parts of the state is concerned, I may state that a central team has already visited and the sanction for the adequate relief based on the recommendations of the team has also been issued. With regard to shortage of food, we have as a special case allowed the Maharashtra government to purchase 40,000 tons of rice from Punjab and Haryana. With regard to Kerala, I may inform the House that 90 to 95,000 tons of rice has been the offtake of Kerala has demanded more rice. The request is under consideration. This will be decided keeping in view the overall stock position in the central pool, as also the request from rice from other states during the current year. I assure the House that to the extent possible we shall try to meet their demand. As I have already mentioned that the management of food economy is joint effort of the state and states, and for its success the help and cooperation of the states is utmost necessary. I therefore urge upon all the states, both the surplus and deficit, to kindly extend their cooperation to enable us to meet the situation during this year, which is one of drought and monsoon failure.
Legislative business bill introduced.
Honorable Minister of Labour to introduce the bill.
I beg to move for list of
a bill further to amend the Ma'am, I beg to move for Labour to introduce a bill further to amend the Employees Provident Fund and Graciousness Content Act 1952 and the Indian Penal Code.
The question is that leave be granted to introduce the bill further to amend the Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952 and the Indian Penal Code. Those who are in favor will please say aye.
Aye.
Those who are against this, please say no. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Leave is granted. Minister of Labour.
Bill for consideration.
Now the House will take up consideration of the Commission of Sati Bill 1987. Minister, please.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that the bill to provide for the more effective prevention of the commission of Sati and its glorification and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto be taken into consideration. Sir, the House is aware of the crime of Sati recently committed in a village of our country. All sections of our society have shown a rare unanimity in condemning the incident and views for the effective prevention of the commission of Sati and its glorification. Although the offence of attempt to commit suicide is contained in section 309 of the Indian Penal Code and has been held by various courts to include the commission of Sati, the punishment is not deterrent enough to prevent such a practice. Besides, there is no provision to prohibit the glorification of Sati. Therefore, with a view to provide more stringent punishment to those abetting the act of Sati, as also to prevent its glorification, the government has brought forward this bill before this August House. Salient features of some of the most important provisions of the bill are as follows. The bill defines Sati comprehensively to include not only the burning of burial alive of a widow with the deceased husband, but also of a widow with the husband or relative. This is because it has come out to notice that there have been cases where a woman has been burned alive with a brother or stepson. Anyone who abets the commitment of Sati will be punishable with the maximum penalty, i.e. death or imprisonment for life. The abetment of an attempt to commit Sati will be punishable with imprisonment for life. For the attempt to commit Sati, we have provided the same punishment as for the attempt to commit suicide in the Indian Penal Code. However, since only a person under great pressure or not sound in mind would attempt to commit Sati, we have provided that the court time such an offence should, before convicting any person in likely consideration, the circumstances leading to the commission of the offence. Glorification of Sati has been defined in detail and includes observance of ceremonies, collection of funds and construction of temples. We propose punishment by imprisonment which may extend to 7 years for the offence of glorification of Sati. The bill also lays down procedures for setting up for special courts and appointment of several public prosecutors. All laws enforced immediately before the commencement of the proposed act will stand repealed, but anything already done under the laws to repeal shall be deemed to have been done under the corresponding provisions of this act.
Sir, I am confident that the honorable members of this House, irrespective of party affiliation, will welcome the bill wholeheartedly, and through it helps to eradicate this horrendous practice once for all. With these words, I now move that the Commission of Sati Bill 1987 be taken into consideration. Motion move that the bill to provide for the more effective prevention of the commission of Sati and its glorification and for matters connected therewith or incidental there to be taken into consideration. Shri Abhigyan.
Honorable Speaker, sir, I rise to support this bill. The recent incident of Sati has evoked widespread condemnation from all parts of the country. The media has also played its part in highlighting this incident. Parliament has taken full notice of it. Government has come out with legislation, a bill, which in a sense is a symbol of determination to fight. A symbol of which will to see that the nation does not work against right guiding to obscurant rule. Sir, we know that happened in the days of Raja Ram Mohan Rai. What Mahatma Gandhi said in his days, how he strongly condemned the practice of Sati. He condemned not only Sati, but the kind of thinking behind it. How can we forget the great role played by Rajaji in almost eradicating of this social evil from our society? It was through his sheer tireless efforts that British government, the rulers at Fort William, was forced to enact a regulation called the Bengal Regulation 1828 and subsequently Madras Regulations 1929 banning the act of Sati. We must also not forget the mass awakening and education that he carried on throughout the country, which helped people to understand how the evil of sati was making women the scapegoat of some fundamentalists and orthodox individuals. But today it appears that all the great efforts made by Rajati are going to be lost. We are perhaps again moving back to the old era. This needs a serious thinking amongst intellectuals and regionalists. Coming back to the bill, I would like to say that there are no two opinions on this bill, and I am sure that everybody in this house, to whichever party he or she belongs to, is bound to support it with full conviction. Obscurantism and social evils have a common source. They both arise out of, as everybody knows, social backwardness and economic backwardness. It is only when areas remain backward that this kind of activity, this kind of thinking and social behavior can survive. We are duty bound to fight all tendencies which offer human nature. Take for instance animal sacrifice. Animal sacrifice clearly offends human nature. This has been legislation and there has been movements against this. I would call sati nothing less than a form of human sacrifice. We have to put a stop to this at all costs. Sir, having said all this, I have to draw your attention to the legislation itself. It is a very good piece of law. However, since it is admitted that the woman is not a proper state of mind, she should not be unnecessarily punished because sati is 100% murder. This has to be more specifically recognized in the bill. If the onus of the past is put totally on the other participants, either through acts of omission or commission, then I feel that this practice can be effectively curbed once and for all. In conclusion, I would also stress on the fact that socio-economic developments can play a great role in eliminating evil tendencies. With these words, I strongly support the bill. Thank you for having given me an opportunity to speak on it.
Srimati Janvi.
Madam, it is with a mixed feeling that I have to address this August house. The whole country was shocked and humiliated by the recent incident of Sati. There are women's movement throughout the country condemning and demanding prevention of this type of crime, and my party was in forefront of this agitation. It was only after this strong reaction from the people of the government has been forced to bring in this legislation. But, madam, what is painful is the legislation which they have brought forward now is full of flaws, have been drafted without consulting any of the women's organizations who are in better position to give valuable suggestions, as they have done a lot of in this sphere. This bill provided the attempt to commit sati will be punishable as suicide. If the woman is forced to die, then the charges should be against their murderer and not against herself. But that is exactly what this bill has done. So this is my objection against the bill. The bill gives the power up to the collect of the district magistrate to prevent offences related to sati. The village level authority who are there in this area itself should also be empowered with the necessary authority to prevent such offences. If the law has been efficiently implemented, by the time the DM know about the crime and the crime may have already been done, the woman would have been burnt or donation of the lands or the buildings Sati's temple are included as an offense. I wonder whether this government want to save the big business houses. They were the biggest donor. Donation of funds or must have also constituted an office under the actor. I would also suggest the vigilance committee should be constituted at the village level to effectively counter this civil practice. Social workers, gram sevikas and teachers would be the member of such committee. There should be FX Vigilance Committee at the district level to coordinate the activity of the Vigilance Committee. Therefore, while I support the idea of bringing forward such a bill, I also have a stake that this bill be suitably amended before it is passed.
The minister is not listening. He is listening to the minister next to him. Now I am listening.
Yes, sir, yes.
Firstly, the bill seek out the reaction any understanding that state is a voluntary and therefore it stop only of amendment and not the actual offences which is burning alive a woman on the further crime. It punishes the poor woman who is a victim of social circumstances. The bill, it appears to me, says that woman herself is the first offender. Others are only abated. It makes it appear as if the actual in the voluntary work on the part of the woman. Sir, Raja Ram Mohan Roy understands in 150 years back that study can never be voluntary. But now the present government has failed to understand this. So this is my objection against the bill. The bill given enough loopholes to criminals for intense encouraging the woman to remain
fixed in her resolve. What can that must be punishing the woman back into the ire when she wants to escape and aiding the government in her decision. The loophole must be plugged in. Another big loophole is the offences has not been categorized and cognizable and non-variable. This is really surprising that the crime is punishable by death and that is not cognizable. This also should be gone into the bill as it now. If the woman will not have the desired effect, it will be effectively in preventing this terrible crime. The women of the country will not tolerate this and they will continue to fight till the legislation is made more strict. Madam, I may submit this through the present bill in the good step in the direction of combating the evil of sati. But the real solution to the problem lies in the education of the people. We have already one active, namely the Indian Penal Code dealing with this issue, which prescribes the deterrent punishment to those who obey or encourage sati. But despite this is a sorry state of affairs that in our country, after independence, 41 casts of sati have been recorded as per court records. In addition to 41, I don't know how unknown sati have been committed and how many women are dying without being called sati, which is more humiliating. We may pass House's bill, but unless we tackle this problem for the socialism angle, I doubt whether we shall be able to eradicate this evil custom. Therefore, Madam, even though I have no quarrel on the basic idea behind it, I could not support the bill. So, thank you.
Minister for Human Resource Development.
Yeah. Sir, ma'am, I'm grateful to all the members who have supported the bill. I'm also grateful to those members who have given their constructive criticism. I'm grateful to those members who have given their I'm grateful for the advice that has been given to us. With regard to the main suggestion, I would like to say that I do agree that the whole problem of sati and other such that are connected with the status of women in our country. But I think that we have reached a stage where we are a nation committed to improve the status of women and give equality to them in all fields. One of the suggestions that has been made is about the question of the victim itself. I would like to point out that section 309 of the IPC deals with attempt to commit suicide. Up to now, where there was no other legislation, this has been the clause under which all sati, or rather all attempted sati incidents have been dealt with. Unless we are prepared to punish an attempt to commit a crime, I can't ask you to punish those who abet the crime. If you say that the attempt to commit suicide or abetment at committing sati is a crime, and now we have introduced a life imprisonment or death penalty in abetment.
Sir, this is considered to be murder, not suicide.
Sir, let me explain. I do agree that a woman who is rescued from the funeral pyre of her husband is certainly not in a fit condition, perhaps even to know what she was doing. In all probability, she was compelled to do it, or because she had no other alternative. We do agree that there are various circumstances because of which she may have been compelled, and she has no way to profit. Still, it is an offence under the penal code as an attempt at suicide. As a protective thing, we have said in the Act, maximum of 1 year imprisonment. Even this, I am prepared to concede, could be reduced because most courts will deal with the matter. Wouldn't even sentence the woman to 1 year. We have added a provision to section 3, which says, provide that the special court time an offence under this section shall before convicting any person take into consideration the circumstances leading to the commission of the offence, the act committed, the state of mind, and the state of mind of the person is charged to the offence at the time of commission of the act and all other relevant factors. Therefore, sir, this provision gives total discretion up to the court to consider this offence on a different level altogether. That is why I don't think there is any fear that a girl who is rescued will be sent to jail straight away or anywhere.
Sir, she will be subject to trial.
Minister for Human Resource Development.
Sir, whenever there is such a case, she is bound to be put in the witness box, bound to be examined and cross-examined, as she will be the prime witness. She will have to be brought before the court. However, as I have explained earlier, she need not be convicted as the courts are to view the case in the most sympathetic manner. You can't have a trial without the woman, innocent as she may be for what has happened. Sir, another criticism has been that this act is meant only to come into operation after the crime has been committed, and what we have no provision for preventing it. I would like to point out Section 6 of the Act and make substantial provision giving powers of preventing the crime where there is either a threat or information that the crime is about to take place, and so it is preventive as well. As regards to the point raised by the Honourable Member that the crime is not cognizable, there seems to have been some misunderstanding, because for any crime where the punishment is for 7 years, imprisonment for death penalty, and is automatically cognizable and non-bailable. We have not mentioned it here, but the IPC provisions automatically come into being there.
Not OPC, the CRPC.
Yes, I'm sorry, sir. I thank you for correcting me, the CRPC. Therefore, it is both cognizable and non-bailable, and therefore, about this doubt that has been raised, I think the matter is clear. The Honourable Member Shri P had raised the question of rehabilitation of widows, which incidentally is not directly connected with any of the provisions of the Act. Sir, this is a matter which concerns many departments and state governments and other voluntary organizations. The government of the state in which the incident has occurred has been the first to announce that employment doesn't have to be recovered by age limitations. I have taken this order of the state government and immediately sent it to the chief ministers of all states with an appeal that they may also implement similar orders in the other states. I hope I've answered most of the points raised by the members in the course of my speech. I once again thank all of you for your support and see your cooperation in implementing this measure. I request the House to pass it.
The question is that these bills to provide for the more effective prevention of the commission of sati and its glorification and from matters connected therewith or incidental thereto be taken into consideration. Those who are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those who are against it will say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Clause by clause consideration. Now the question is that clause 2 to 10 stands part of the bill. There is one amendment in clause 5 by Shri and I. Are you moving it?
No sir, in the view of the reply given by the minister, I am not pressing my amendment.
Now the question is that clause 2 to 10 stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those who are against it will say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Clause 2 to 10 stand part of the bill. Now the question is that clause 1, the enacting formula and the title stand part of the bill. Those who are in favor will please say aye. Aye. Those who are against it will say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Minister for Human Resource Development, please.
Sir, I move that the bill will be passed.
Motion moved that the bill is passed. Those who are in favor will say please aye. Aye. Those who are against it will say no. No. I think the ayes have it, the ayes have it, the ayes have it. Motion is adopted.
Private members resolution.
Shri Abhijit.
Madam Speaker, ma'am, I rise to support the resolution moved by the learned member. Through you, I would like to congratulate her for having brought forward this resolution. I especially agree with her that the punishment is too less. I am sorry that these people are left off lightly. I think there should be summary justice. I feel that one can even forgive a smuggler of gold or thief, but don't think anyone can forgive a drug peddler. Sir, some spoil the health and wealth. I think the drug pusher spoils health, wealth and character. This loss of character will lead to the moral degeneration, take out the country backward. I also agree with the honourable member who has introduced this resolution that the government should coordinate the action against the drug by involving a number of ministries. Drug menace is something which is attacked now can ruin over the entire country. With these words, I support the resolution.
Honorable Minister for Health and Family Welfare.
Honorable Speaker, ma'am, I congratulate the mover of the resolution, Mr. Abhijit, as well as the other honorable members who have spoken on the resolution for focusing at the altar of public opinion one of the vital social and health issues facing the country today. The purpose of my intervention is only to place before the House the various efforts made by the various departments of the government to combat the serious menace. Ma'am, I would like to submit the law of this government which brought about the historic piece of legislation, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. Sir, the Act enhances the punishment of rigorous imprisonment from 10 to 20 years and a fine of rupees 2 lakh for the first time. Even attempted abetment and conspiracy have been recognizable and entail the same punishment. Rewards for informers who contribute to detention and seizure have been enhanced from 10 to 20%. Special cells have been created in all custom collectorates in the country. There has been a steep rise in seizures from November 1985 to January 1986, above 780 kgs of heroin, 8,300 kgs of charas and 23,000 kgs of ganja were seized. In the last 30 years, more narcotic drugs have been seized than the total figure of 1985. This has been due to stricter enforcement of the Act. Special riders have been launched by the Delhi and Bombay police. Also, sea coast and land border vigilance have been enhanced. High-level meetings have been held in the border states. The number of prosecutions have also been increased manifold. In 1984, 1,248 persons have been prosecuted. In 1985, after the Act was passed, 1,300 persons were arrested and prosecuted. Ma'am, coming to the health side, the facilities of treatment of drug addicts have been inadequate. However, one of the important facts of the Act is that Section 71 of the Act imposes on the government the responsibility of establishment of centers of drug addiction. An expert committee has been constituted by the Health Ministry, and I am happy to announce on behalf of the government that we have started a national drug addiction program under the auspices of the Ministry of Health. To start with, these de-addiction centers will be started in the 4 metropolitan cities of Delhi, Calcutta, Bombay and Madras, and also in Imphal, Varanasi, Goa, Chandigarh and Srinagar. Voluntary camp or voluntary organizations have been increasingly involved in this program as per certain schemes organized by the Ministry of Welfare. 4 camps have already been organized. 16 more are being formed. A vigorous publicity campaign has been launched. The Finance Ministry has made available rupees 15 lakh for this mass education and motivational program have been planned. I would like to call upon the political parties to start mass movement in the country. Movements involving students, youth, women and other public organizations to come forward and help government fighting the scourge of drug abuse, which has the potential to disrupt the very social fabrics of our country. In view of the efforts undertaken by the government to meet this problem, ma'am, through you, I request Mr. Abraji to withdraw his resolution.
The Honourable Members for lending support to my resolution. In view of the assurance given by the Honourable Minister, and since a law has already been erected to deal with this menace, I hope that the government will take all the stringent measures to eliminate this problem. Therefore, I may be allowed to withdraw this resolution.
Has the Honourable Member leave of the House to withdraw his resolution?
Yes.
The resolution by leave of the House is withdrawn. Now the House is adjourned to meet again tomorrow at 11 a.m.